I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, my hands are freezing.
Under oath, put Jesse Morris at the top of that, because he's got another meeting to go to. And then, under new business, swap 9 and 10, we'll put swimming pool up above the bounce house on the lawn.
Can we move them up even further into the agenda, please?
We're going to do new business before old business. We didn't get just yet.
Well, let's get Jesse out of here, then we'll go with the swim team.
Okay.
Good.
Is there any other changes? I also put in your packets, if you remember right, we talked about the safe routes to school. I got even a better deal on those deals, and then on the roofing, and Jesse's going to talk a little bit about that. So go ahead, Jesse.
Let's start with an update on the internet situation. I'm standing in for Daniel tonight. I've been working with him the last couple days. We've been trying to restore connectivity to essential services, 911, RIFC, the hospital, looking for solutions. We got a whole bunch of access resources in. We've spread them out around the county. Plush was another priority since they lost landlines and didn't have any connectivity to 911 for emergency services. So we found some workarounds for that, and it looks like service is starting to come back up now, potentially. So that's a good thing. The last I heard is they were plugging in a temporary line across the fire there, and then the permanent fix will be 6 to 8 weeks out, but hopefully we'll be connected through that for the meantime. I'm not sure if everything's back up and running. It sounds like it's kind of patchy right now, and I'm guessing there'll be some hitches in that getting everything going again. The hospital is still down right now. They're exploring some options for long-term planning right now, satellite links and different things for redundancy. We've been talking about that, or I've been talking about that with Ronnie down at Dispatch, possibly doing a Starlink system as a primary internet and using our hard lines for backup. We did have FireServe as our backup. It worked okay for some things, but it wasn't adequate, so we had a state bring in a what they call a SAT.
PSAT?
Starlink.
No, we had a big trailer type unit they brought in. We've got one inside the building providing internet and one outside the building providing FirstNet phones. The issues with those are they don't really work unless you have FirstNet devices on it, so you need the whole system as part of the problem. So, but we were able to patch things together, didn't run into too many issues. So everything's moving along. We'll start ramping down now that internet's coming back to the community. But it was a good exercise in planning and really pointed out some vulnerabilities we need to look at as a community moving forward. So there'll be more to come on that as we do lessons learned and work through the rest of this situation.
Good.
Any questions on that?
I have one. Just, do you know whether the fix is to put back in place exactly the same thing that was the problem this time?
As far as I know, that is the fix. I don't know of any plans to dig that underground.
That span?
Yeah, because right now, all that line was run through the power poles.
Right.
Or hung on the bottom of power poles, so.
But we're now focused on the vulnerability of fiber on poles.
So that needs to be part of the conversation with our utility providers is how we can get a more redundant system. It's like that all over the county. That's not the only place there. So having that one line in from Klamath makes us pretty vulnerable. I know the county's been talking a lot with this new line coming from Reno to Bend and how we might access that. And I think they're looking at grants for gaining access to that. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, so hopefully we won't be in this situation in the future, but there's always potential. A lot of bad things can happen. So it was a good eye-opener to see how vulnerable we are and how much we rely on internet connectivity for our essential community services. So And this will be a good learning lesson, and hopefully moving forward, we won't be quite so delayed. As far as the building goes, I received a quote from Adam Albertson for emergency repairs on the fire station. And that included improving the ventilation over the training room, which has been our main source of leaking. And then also tearing off the foyer, the roof on the foyer, and replacing the roof sheathing. And that's where we have most of our mold issues now. So I got a quote of $5,525 for that work, I believe is what the quote came out as, and he could get to it this fall. That's not a complete fix, you know, ultimately we probably need to do a roof and things like that. I spoke with ZCS Engineering out of Klamath Falls. They came highly recommended by Klamath Fire District 1 and a couple other fire departments, ODF in the area. They do seismic retrofit grants, so they would do, they're putting together a formal proposal for us. It looks like out-of-pocket cost for us would be about $5,000 to get the initial survey done. They would write a grant for us to get a seismic retrofit to the building and include the repairs and things like that that we need into that, and hopefully we could roll some of that into that grant. So that's kind of a one-shot deal, $5,000 upfront cost. If we're awarded the grant, we'd get that money back. But that would ultimately provide us with a good blueprint moving forward for gaining bids. If we don't get the grant, you know, we have, you know, a long-term plan of what this building needs to be brought into better condition and a plan to work off of for the future. So my recommendation is I'm hoping that we can go ahead with the emergency repair, since mold is kind of an issue, and getting contractor scheduled has been difficult. But otherwise, if not, we can work on a bid process for it. But it was in our budget for this year, so to get that repair done. And I think we have it in our budget to do the engineer, outlay the cash for the engineering survey if that comes up as well, and get a good working plan for moving forward for the future. And then the other thing we are getting multiple bids on is we have a heat pump that's down right now for the training room. We received one big bid back, and hopefully get a couple more, and then hopefully move forward with that repair. So I think that all that still falls within the budget we put together for the building. So
I know those heat pumps been there since the building was built.
the one that went out is the original. We have a newer one next to it that was replaced.
Is that the one in dispatch?
The
actual
one
911 part?
The one that serves 911 has been replaced, and that one's functioning. The one that serves the rest of the training room is the
Okay.
original that is functioning right now.
Thank you.
We tried some repairs on it, but it's beyond the point of repair, so.
See, I was told it was a roof, so I went out and I'm waiting for Henry's Roofing. Will be here tomorrow and get a bid from them, but I got one from Cummings Roofing.
And before we really pursue the roof, I would like to have the engineering survey done, and hopefully we could wrap a lot of those repairs in under a grant potentially, so.
Yeah, that would be nice to have a grant.
Yeah.
So this emergency repair covers the ventilation part, and I think that's one of our main issues with that part of the building. When it was added onto, I don't know when that was done, the first part of the dispatch rooms, or added on to the front, they blocked off the original ventilation to that section of the building, and I think that's when our problems began. So having it engineered correctly and making sure that whatever we do invest is done wisely, I think is a good stroke of business. So.
I think it's a good plan. All right.
So authorize the 7,000.
We have 5,500.
For the engineer?
Yeah.
Well, if we get the grant, that would be great, but if we don't get the grant, we're out $5,000, we maybe can get our engineer to look at it a little cheaper. I don't know if that.
But if this ventilation works, then we might be fine with a roof.
I'm not talking about that, I was talking about the big.
So the $5,000 includes a engineering survey and writing the grant for us.
Yeah.
So all in one package.
But that's in the budget,
If we get it, that'd be
Yep.
the key.
Yeah.
if we get the grant.
Yeah, and if we don't, then we still have a good engineered plan to work off of for getting bids in the future and things like that, so.
Well, if that ventilation works, we might be golden.
I don't know
But ultimately,
what's in the budget.
Well,
ultimately, the hope is I think it's, should be high on the priority list for a seismic retrofit because of the way it's built and things like that, its age. There are some foundation issues on part of the building that need addressed, so. Yeah.
Well, you guys were asking for 3 bids, so it's a,
Well, the bid that Albertson Construction gave is only for that foyer area, right? And the roof.
Replacing the roof and the roof decking on the foyer.
Right.
And improving the ventilation in that section of the building and the training room.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
That's for the
And
ventilation
training
too,
room,
then.
okay.
Yeah.
well, I think that's great.
So it was 5,525 for those 2 pieces that
Well-
are emergency repairs.
I would make a motion that we go forward with that because that web insulation and that needs to get out of that building, and the sooner the better
Yeah,
in that part.
I second that.
motion made and seconded, those in favor? Okay.
And then hopefully next month I'll have the formal proposal from ZCS, the engineering company, and you guys, I'll submit that to you for review.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
So I have any questions regarding that stuff?
You're doing a good job.
No, but I'm still gonna go ahead and get a roof quote
Okay.
from Henry's Roofing.
Yes.
I did put together a bid sheet I was gonna send over to you if you wanted to show them that, and maybe we could get another quote on the ventilation tomorrow, on just that portion
Okay.
as well. So,
Yeah,
let's see,
if you-
couldn't hurt.
If you want, just leave it over there at dispatch and I'll pick it up.
Yep,
Just, I don't know, put it on a clipboard or
I'll try
just
to.
tell dispatchers, give it to me or put it
Yeah,
in.
I'm gonna head back over there. I got a bunch of stuff to finish up for Daniel tonight, and I'll try and get that printed out before the end of the day, or at
If
least
not,
some,
just email it to me and I'll print it.
might be scribbled on a piece of paper, so,
Okay,
all right. Thank you.
Thank you,
very
Jessica.
much.
Good night.
I think all we have to ask for is a consensus.
all right,
I
let's
don't think we
Need
did.
a motion.
bounce around here.
Consensus.
Go ahead with the swimming pool park and
Okay.
swim team policy and procedures discussion.
I think for
Man, if you're gonna do that, Sean and I gotta run to the park. I got
Go ahead.
to deal with a client over there, and we'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, all right, I need to know who all is here on both sides as far as swim team and lifeguards. So I need
Like a roll call.
a roll call, I need names written down.
Go ahead, your name and what your position is.
You wanna write them down, or Dawn, you got
Yeah.
something to write them on?
Yep.
Julian's gonna be a lifeguard.
Melissa Wilson, I am the swimming pool manager.
Cole Bingham, I'm a lifeguard.
Andrea Dolbear, I'm the vice president of the swim team.
Annette Schulenberger, president of the swim team.
Olivia William, swim coach. Allison Hussey, swim coach.
Are these all Lakeview?
Yeah.
These all Lakeview back
Yes.
there? Nobody here from Prineville?
No.
I just have a general swimming pool thing I would like to comment when they're done.
Sure.
Okay.
Because I didn't notice it was just that, I'm sorry.
Would you like to make your comment first?
No, I'll wait till they're
I'll wait
done.
till the end.
So, how do you want to start this?
Well, I guess, I
Let's
don't
start with
know.
the swim team coaches.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's start with the swim team coaches.
Whoever wants to talk first.
I guess there were some problems up there, I guess.
At the pool?
At the pool swim team, or the swim meet?
Oh, I can talk on that.
Go ahead.
I mean, unless you guys have.
Go ahead, Al.
Well, maybe we should just start from the very beginning when the issues first started. With the coaches, then down to how everything just escalated further down and deeper into a tunnel. Just my opinion.
However they want to start, I don't care. Get her done.
Okay.
Well, I don't have the beginning of that. I mean, I think other things came up before things came up with me. So if somebody else would like to speak first. Not on swim team, but.
Well, then I suppose I'll take the room and start. Basically from the beginning of the season. There's been some pushback between what the laws are, what swimming pool rules are, and crossing certain boundaries as far as swim team and the lifeguards. One of our biggest issues that we have had, and I was not here last year, I moved here in June, so I missed a lot of what happened with the swimming pool last year, but coming into it for myself, just walking into the pool house, when I first got the keys, it was pretty disheartening to see how it had been left, how things had been treated, and then from that point, just hearing plethora daily on what the issues were last year. And one of the biggest things was the health and condition of both the facility as well as the pool. I grew up in this town. I grew up from the time I could swim until I left in high school on swim team. I wasn't there at practice. I was known as a town mermaid because I was there during any way I could get in that water. Lap swim, night swim, which we only had back then 2 nights a week, as well as night practice. When swim team came about, I did talk with Olivia and let her know, anything she needed. She had, her first concern was with parents being on deck, and I said I would absolutely, during practice, I said I'd absolutely help with keeping the gate closed so they weren't any interference, and I tried from the get-go to work with her the best I could. One of the other things that we did for the team was to have lines out every single morning and basically like how she would want those, and we did that growing up in swim team. We did it ourselves, but it took a large chunk of our practice time. So I wanted, we're there in the morning, I figure why not, let's help them out, that way she can get her kids in the water and get the most out of their practice that they could. So, I tried from the time that I started to work with them. Even previous to that, there was a little bit of issues during training. One of the instructors had made a comment during one of our training days saying that if it wasn't taken seriously, she was not going to sign off things. I had assumed it was my kids because they're younger, my guards. And I approached them afterwards and talked to them and apologized on their behalf if they were the ones that were out of line and not paying attention, and that I would talk with them. And they said, no, absolutely not. It was not your guards. It was actually the 3 coaches that should know better and have set a better example. So there was just a little bit of tension even before we started. Now going back into opening up the pool room or the pool house and the condition of that, I expected to open the door and have that nostalgic smell of the pool house, and that was not the case. It reeked of urine. It was filthy dirty. There was things that were left stickiness all over, and I called Dawn and I said, I absolutely cannot open this pool in this way. I'm gonna need some more heavy duty equipment other than just Clorox wipes, spray, and elbow grease. And that's when we got the pressure washer up. I pressure washed the entire building, ceilings down from the front to the back. I moved, and Julian was here before training. He came in and assisted me with that. So he saw the condition as well. I do have photos from before and after because I was just appalled at what condition that it was in. We cleaned the entire thing. We got it smelling great, cleaned out drains, moved the mats, cleaned everything completely. You can go in there and run your fingers across the top of those mirrors and it'll come out clean. And that's the way they have been taught to clean when they go in there and wipe everything down. The pool as well, when I first went up there, I noticed there was a tinge of green in the deep end. And I've worked around many pools in many different facilities and right off the bat recognized that there was an issue. And I was told that it was just staining from the last year and that the pool hadn't been, painted properly and things like that. And that was not the case because we ended up getting, and I do have photos from our training where you can see the color difference to when we had our guards in. They were doing their own little water aerobics with the guys, doing a workout in the pool. By that time, we had crystal clear. We maintain that pool to a T. When they are getting off their chair and they're walking, they're not only sweeping the pool sides for scorpions, snakes, or anything, they're also sweeping the deck. If there's anything that's on the deck, even a little pebble we move it, because that's a lot easier than having the kids scratch themselves or hurt themselves, and then we've got to go treat for blood and everything else. So they've been taught from the get-go, this is the way we're going to maintain our pool. The same goes for inside. When they get off rotation, they go through the bathrooms, through the building. If they notice that trash needs to be taken out, toilet papers need to be filled, that is what we do. One of our biggest with the pool and the green was enforcing showers, and we enforce that right off the bat. It's not just a rule of mine, that is through OSHA. It's a health issue, and that's something that I have butted heads with the swim team from. I mean, even still, there's kids did not shower today, and it's disheartening because I've gone to the coaches from the beginning and talked with them, and what I get in return is, well, they're this age, I can't force them to do these things. And it's, no, you cannot force them, but you can enforce them. If they're not gonna follow what the rules are, they don't get into the pool until they do that. I give swim lessons myself. I do not excuse myself from taking a shower. Part of my lesson is taking my child that I'm giving a lesson to from the window. We go into the shower. That's just part of it. This is what we do before we get into the pool, and I show them not just a little squirt, because that does nothing. That doesn't rinse the things off that you need. We do like a full 5, count to 5, and most all of them can do so. The ones that cannot, they have a parent there helping as they rotate. It's just, when we fought so much, even in the beginning, there was a random bloom that had happened, and it was kind of a perfect storm. We had freezing cold weather early that week, 50s, and some snowfall. By the end of the week, it was hot with thunder and lightning, and then just you mix that up with so many bodies going in that are not cleansing themselves the way that they should. You've got a little triple X happening, and poof, within days, my perfect clear blue water was green. I had let swim coaches know that we're not having, the health of the pool is at risk right now. You will have to have a dry practice. I even took it upon myself to call Best Western as well as the hot springs, because even though it's not a full side, that they can still practice drills, they can work on their touches, different things like that, and let her know, here's some options. And in Lakeview, if we never know what the weather's gonna bring, or if we have to shut down due to lightning and they don't get a practice, or if it's gonna be green and you don't get a practice, that this is what will happen. At that time, when there were dry practices happening, 5 of my guards are on swim team. 4 of those 5 came up to me after a couple of the dry practices, and they just looked like stressed out, and I was like, hey, what's up? Because I usually walk in ready to go, having fun, everybody has a great time, and they said that was the most awkward thing we've had to sit through, because the swim coaches sat there and basically talked a lot of crap about you and how you're managing and what you're doing, and that was pretty disheartening to hear, because that is not anything that those kids should even know. If they have frustrations or irritations, that should be brought to me. That should not be deflected onto any of those children. They are there to train, they are there to swim. And I got a lot of, well, parents are mad and this, and I understand that. The community is upset because this is what we have, and that's why we were working. And we did not just sit there. We did not leave it up to anybody else, and we did not just shut the pool down, because it was shut down as far as the community went. However, my crew continued, 3 of them out on deck from the time they started their shift until the time their shift was over, excluding their breaks, on 15-minute rotations, just as if they're in their chair, and they are out there pushing brooms, wiping by hand the perimeters of the pool, we pulled all of the ladders, the lines, we did all of the lane lines. We decontaminated those not once, but 3 times. And so we were out there, and I told them, I said, all these people driving by expecting to see what had happened last year and that nothing's happening and the pool is just in this, they are seeing that we are out here, that we care, and that we are doing this. And so it was pretty disheartening, because these girls were, they work just as hard as the rest of the guards, and then when they go and hear how we're not doing anything, or I'm just letting things go, and how the pool has never been in that condition when it was in their hands last year and things like that, that it makes it hard. Because for me, it would have been, because the coach was the manager, and because she did go through that, and there was so many people upset with how things were going last year, that it would be more Team Lakeview. Well, they're doing the best they can. They're doing, everything. I mean, there wasn't a time that she had actually brought it when I said, look, here's where it is. She brought the entire team up, and in front of us as we're cleaning, just critiqued everything that we were doing. And the guards were like, I can't believe she's
Who was that?
doing. That was Olivia in the morning practice and I had both my guards that are with me here were on, and couldn't believe the smiles and the snickering, and it was very heavy feeling, because they're literally standing right there with brushes in their hands and skimmers in their hands while the entire team was brought up to look. She came down and stood next to me when Sean was there one morning, and just, well, it was never like this when I did it, and just that sort of behavior is like, that is not us working together. And I messaged her and I said, you all are more than welcome to have your team come up here and help if you want to, do, like, we could use the extra. Never anything, no offer, no nothing. It was just constant critiquing and how awful it was.
Do you feel it was critiquing or heckling?
A little bit of both, with smiles, the joking, snickering, things like that. I say critiquing because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when it's pretty clear. Because you never know. People have different ways of showing what it is that they're thinking.
I know last year, we did have to drain the pool because of this.
I think
And we were down for quite a while.
I think we have the gist of
The
what
gist of
happened.
what happened, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Who's next? Coaches have anything to say?
Okay. I fully support our coaches. I just want to put that out there. It has been a difficult season just because there has been headbutting. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth, and I guess my disheartening comment is that when she says that kids shouldn't know that, I keep hearing that she's talking with other people on the deck, all around, different people, and then saying to me, well, so-and-so says this, and this is what this person says. I haven't got the positive attitude back. It's always been, this is going on, and then chastising something about the swim team in front of a public person. Not just me and her, but a public person, and actually critique about a swimmer that didn't shower. We know they didn't shower, and this is why we have the algae bloom, is because these swim team kids did not shower, and if I ever see them not shower again, they are out of here. So in essence, they cannot swim again.
Can I respond to that?
I think from my point of view, I think we have he said, she said, and that's going to keep going back and forth forever. I've heard it most of this year, and I've talked to you about it to alleviate some of the problem. I thought maybe next year from 7 till 9:45, the swim team could be on their own, have their own lifeguards, have their own manager, whatever. Our manager comes on at 9:45 and takes over and gets set up for 10 o'clock. And then at 4 o'clock, when the swim team comes back, they're in charge of themselves again.
Well, we can't come back till 6.
And that would eliminate what we're kind of going through right now. I don't know about the insurance. I haven't looked into any of that, but we'll have to see. And we need some time to kind of put that together, right, Michelle? And if you guys are for that, that would be a way for us to move forward.
Try it.
Just to kind of take a consensus on that. What do you guys think
I
about
like the
that?
idea. I think it'd work.
Okay.
Can I make another comment? I mean,
Sure.
I've been doing this my kids have been on there for 10 years, and I've never had an issue with pool manager before. So, and I haven't had an issue at a swim meet before, like this, so.
What happened at this one?
Yeah, let's hear what happened swimming.
It was a battle with swim coaches. The swim coaches from every team that came with the pool manager, so.
Can you
The light
elaborate?
up there
Can
that
I
didn't say
comment?
ballot?
That's not enough information.
Can I
you-
comment on that?
Yeah.
So I was behind the scenes, not a parent observing their child. But with coaching, I had other coaches coming up to both Ellie and I. I think it was the pool manager dropped her phone in the pool, and that was a big fiasco of why does a lifeguard have her phone on duty? I think it was just irritation with how they were being spoken to is from what I gathered. From the other coaches, just how they were presented in front of their swimmers or in front of other people while they were just trying to, coach. The one coach was pregnant, so she was sitting in a lawn chair throughout the day because walking around in 90-degree heat is hard. She felt very, I think her words were kind of targeted a little bit to move out of the way while her swimmers were swimming. She felt like she couldn't coach because it was like, okay, well now I'm in the way, I need to move. So, I mean, she was kind of confused on why she couldn't sit on the deck and coach her kids.
So what's the rules, what's the policy rules during the swim meet?
So there's one side of the deck that is completely open. The other side has all the officiants tents, the team tent, and then I believe it had a family tent that was set up. I actually pushed down my tarps on the other side, made room for, it was the Prineville, and I didn't have any issues with any of the other coaches except for Prineville. Burns' coach was amazing. She was, I believe, pregnant as well. And I offered all of them that they could move their chairs to the other side where there was shade. She picked up, was just fine taking her chair over to the other side. She would come over and run with her coaches as she needed to. And then if she had some over on the other side, she would sit in her chair. I offered the same to the others. Instantly, and the only reason it was an issue is because they were putting their chairs right in the middle of the walkway, the only walkway. And then their children would come and sit down around it, or they have food and drink, which they actually stuck right in the line of where we walk the pool with swimmers that struggle, regardless of the age that they are, and as well as with the little ones. And one of my lifeguards, because we walk and keep our eyes on the pool, they set their drink right in front of him, which is next to the pool. He ran right into it. There was a thing of food put in front of me when I went, and so I asked them, you are more than welcome to put your chairs to the fence line and then get up and run with your kids and coach them, or move your chairs over to the other side. What I received from Prineville was, well, will you provide us with chairs and tables? And I said, I don't believe we have that, but you would need to talk to Annette in regards to that stuff. However, you are more than welcome to take your chairs, which they had right there, and move those to the other side where there is shade and everything else. So I did try to work with them, and there was no issues with.
They weren't eating on the deck, were they?
They were eating on the deck.
You said that's not supposed to
Well, for
happen, is it?
coaches, because they're out there for so long, because they have kids and so many heats, it's fine for them to have food, and I'm not opposed to that at all, for them to have food and drink. However, to just set it down in front of, where we are clearly working, that's when it became an issue. I would even
Well,
move
I think if you
around.
have a rule, there's no food on the deck, there's no food on the deck.
Right.
And they walk
But
off
I-
and eat it and then come
Yes,
back.
and
mean, that's-
and see, most of the coaches would stay behind the blocks, which, when I grew up in, that's how it was. And then we'd have the one come out and run with us, and then they'd go back. But it was very much, and then, they looked at me, and I never approach anybody with, in a hostile way. I always, unless it gets to a point where I have to use a firmer tone. And it did get to that point, because it was literally from Friday night, Saturday, every single day. And I did, like I said, create a space for them. And then the Sunday, they didn't pop their tent up. And they had told, I believe in it, or somebody, that I wouldn't allow them to have it there. And that was just not the case, because if I moved my tarps
Well,
myself.
right now, we have
into
2 days of swim meet, right? 2 days of swim
Three,
meet.
Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday.
Just the one weekend.
Just the one weekend.
One weekend, yes.
So we can change the policies a little bit.
And I actually,
It won't be
after
done,
the
so-
meet, I went up
So our
to
best
each
case
of those
scenario is try to get through
coaches.
the next 3 days, correct?
Right,
Right, and then figure out policies from there.
and I did go apologize, or thank those coaches, and I said, no hard feelings, this is the way it is, we have to have, for fire safety reasons, this is the only walkway, thank you so much for coming. I went up to every single one of them at the end of that.
Swim
They were
team,
like,
you think we can get through the next 3 days, or do we need to have supervision up there from us?
We're
You guys okay?
They've been in the pool house the last 3 days.
We have been in the pool house because
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
suggest for you guys from
well, the
7
coach
to
is
10 to be in
certified
the-
and she's
to be
only
in the pool
had,
house and
she's
not
had
around.
less than 20 and we're one lifeguard per 25, so that, and we stay at the window and watch just
Okay.
in case. But we have let, with there not being very many kids coming this week, it's just been, you know what, it's better if we just stand back. She has her certification, she can, you know, round this up.
So do the coaches feel like Pineville did what they did? I mean, were they good? Were they bad? Did they not follow directions? Did they do one?
I went and, after she told me that, that the one that was 9 months pregnant and all she was doing is sitting in the shade of the lifeguard chair. So she
Which-
wasn't in the walkway, she was in the shade of the lifeguard chair.
Was she supposed to be there though?
No, that also makes it difficult for us to get up. We carry a large life tube, and it made it a struggle. And when I asked her, I understood she was in the shade, and that's why I said you're more than welcome to go where there's complete full shade on the other
Right.
side. Because she would move as the shade would move, and it made it very awkward for the lifeguards to be changing out for rotation and to get up and down in those chairs. And then as far as the phone thing, that was actually a walkie-talkie that, which we keep out on deck.
Right.
It was clipped to my pocket. When I
Just
was
fell
getting
off.
down for rotation, it fell off.
There's
Correct.
somebody back there.
Can I make a comment about that? So
Sure.
she was sitting on the side of the deck where the lifeguard chairs were, yes. However, there are rules at swim meets that if she were to be on the other side of the deck where she was asked to move to, she can't speak to her swimmers because swimmers aren't allowed there. And since she's a coach, we often very much interact with our swimmers as they come back from their races, as they're going to their races, and having her over there, I can see was inconvenient for her because she didn't have that interaction with her swimmers that she did on the other side of the deck.
And so I went over there and spoke to her after Melissa said, wanted me to have her move. And I carried her chair and walked her over there.
And I have 8 children. I was pregnant for nearly 10 years straight. I would never disregard, I'm not even kidding, I would never disregard the health, and that's what I told her. I said, but we have to remember the safety of the rest of the community.
There's rules and
And,
regulations.
right, and if fire marshal were to come up here right now, we may be cited and the entire event would be shut down. And I did go and look things up before, after,
Another
yes.
hand back there?
Yeah. So since I was little, doing swim team, and Allie and both coaches, and I think Annette can verify, we have never experienced a swim meet with that many lifeguards on duty. So in past years, it's always been 2 sitting up on the chairs, and it's sufficient. I mean, honestly, with how many swimmers you have and how many, I mean, us 3 coaches are lifeguard certified. The other coaches are lifeguard certified. With how many lifeguards there was, I can see why the other coaches were kind of put back by it, because they were like, oh, in past years we've been coming, there's only been 2, they've been on the opposite side of the deck where swimmers are not allowed to be anyways. So they've been out of the way. And then the other side has always been open to, or a lifeguard has maybe just walked. I think there was one year that a lifeguard walked, but there was never any, you need to move out of the way, you're in the way. As a coach is trying to do her job as well as be 9 months pregnant, I guess is what I mean. So,
And can I add though that every coach for swim team, every coach, they are required to be lifeguard certified.
we are also at the
Let me ask you
came up
this.
to me and said,
Is it 1 lifeguard per 25 kids?
Yes,
But that's-
25 on deck.
Star Guard requires, and in the requirements, it does state in the book, if you read it, that 25, whether they're in the water or on deck, it does not matter. And I
Yes.
got all that from Jackie today. She even
That
put her
is
number
true.
on that letter. But I did talk to Annette about that yesterday, because nobody has ever told me how many lifeguards to supply for up there.
And nobody communicated anything like that to me either.
So I never got the amount. So every year, nobody has ever said anything. Last year, I wasn't in town, so you did swim team.
and I did the swim meet.
But the year before,
And Jackie is the one that certified the lifeguard.
Jackie is lifeguard certified, and it is through Star Guard Elite, and their program is way different than Red Cross. They are more equivalent to EMT certification than they are to the Red
How many
Cross.
lifeguards were on deck?
4.
5 at some
No,
point.
there were only 5 when
Only
we were
when
switching
switching, yeah.
rotation, but only 4 to guard.
So that sounds
And
right.
there
I don't
were
think
little
that's
kids.
outrageous.
Oh, no, it's right. I'm not saying that that was a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's maybe why the coaches from the other team were also put back by it, is because in past years, for years, like even since my sister was young, it has always been 2 coaches for the swim meet the entire time. 2 guards on
I
the
think
entire
there's,
weekend.
it's important to note the difference between what has been happening in the past
Right.
and what needs to happen going forward.
And that we don't use-
follows rules and regulations.
And that we don't use Red Cross. Red Cross is totally differently trained than Star Guard. It is not the same. It
And
is
that
not
would be
the
one
same
of
at all.
Well, the Prineville coach.
And I
she
did
has-
explain that to her, that we are Star Guard Elite, we are not Red Cross, they are trained completely differently. They were, you know, after I explained a few things of what these guys are trained for, they didn't really say too much after that. I didn't hear another peep out of anybody. So I don't know if anything else happened after I left or any of that.
I think after this next meeting, swim meet, that we should have an after-action report to change the policies if we need to do it. And we can bring people back in, and we can discuss that part, and we'll tune it up.
Like I told them too, Mrs. Schulenberger, that we'd like to have the swim team board up here and meet with us at the time to establish some rules and regulations that we are going to use, because at some point in time, the last 3 years, we have to support our manager at the pool instead of throwing her under the bus. You know, I mean,
I agree.
it's just gotta happen.
I've heard nothing but good comments.
I've only
This
heard
year,
good things.
yeah, we did, but go ahead.
So I come as the person that uses a pool for about 8 years for water aerobics. And these guys do a great job. That swim meet was awesome, you guys. You did so good. So we have so many people that work hard for nothing. And the swim team, all the parents and coaches do a great job. But in my experience over the time, the town of Lakeview has a huge problem, and it isn't just this. It's, we can't keep the pool clean because we don't change our filters. We leave them in there all year long.
No.
Not this year. This
Well,
year,
we've changed our filters,
They've been changed 4
it's like-
times this year.
I was gonna tell them that.
Wait, no, let me finish. I want to know, are those new, I've asked this question several times. Are those the first brand-new filters of this season that got put in on Friday? That's what I want to know. Are those the
There
newest?
was one new set bought last year, Susan, or Sharon. There was a brand new set of filters brought last year, and there's been another brand new set bought.
Okay, were the brand-new ones put in the first of the season?
Yes, they were. The new ones from last year were, yes. The new
No.
ones for this year, that we bought this year, haven't showed up yet.
Okay, so I was told that the brand-new filters were put in on Friday. That's the first new filters that were put in for the whole season.
I was as well.
And the other filters, you've been power washing them, which takes a ton of time, and they're not good. They've been in there all winter.
That I can't answer, Sean would be better.
Those
I can
are-
answer it. I haven't had.
And they have not been in there all winter. They are taken out at the end of the season. They're cleaned with the filter cleaner. They were pressure washed. I have ordered new filters.
So did you put them in brand new then at the beginning of
No,
the
we did
season?
not have brand new, right out of the box, clean white filters this year.
No, there you
And I will
go.
give you that because I found out that we had not ordered them. Now, I just took over,
Mm-hmm.
mind you, and I ordered them when I found out we did not have them on order. And I have one box here. The other 5 units are on back order.
So what I'm saying is that the town of Lakeview doesn't have, from what I can see, good policies and procedures on how to maintain the pool. So every year the pool turns green. I've been up there 8 years, and every year it turns green. Last year they had to drain it. This year they almost had to drain it. And, you know, I don't get it. It's chemicals and filters.
Do the filters
So what's the
keep-
protocol? Do you start the season out with clean filters?
And we are changing those procedures.
Okay.
Sharon. We've had a huge change at Public Works, huge, in the last year.
But you weren't doing a good job before that.
No, I know,
Everybody
and
blames this
that's-
year, but you guys weren't doing a good
It's
job.
every year.
Yeah,
Right.
it just goes on and on.
That's part of the reason why I've called the pool supply places to find brand new filters. They've shipped one set,
How much do the filters cost?
about $3,000 per set.
Okay, and how often are we gonna have to change them during the summer? That's what I'd like to
They're
know.
gonna get changed as needed. And I can tell you right now, I don't know who you talked to, but I personally have changed those filters out 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Brand new.
They're not brand new. They're combed out, they've been brought out, they've put the filter cleaner on them, and we have pressure washed them.
I understand.
Manufacturer says the filters are good for 2 to 4 years.
You just have to power wash them. So
And
how
use
long is that
filter.
taking you guys to power wash them?
It takes them a day to
It
switch.
takes them a day to go through the whole thing.
See, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I
It
do
is.
know that Town Hall is planning to implement the pool manager. Myself, I've shown quite a bit of interest in becoming certified to maintain the pool. So the second I see a change in the color, I can, Public Works has so much on their plate, and, you know, it's not to off-put or anything, but a lot of times it takes a little bit of time to have somebody they're just shorthanded, and so that is something that will be in the works for next year. So that way, I can take care of it. I will have that certification to go anywhere that I need to go, and I've already been shown a few things just as.
And nobody
heads
wants
up.
to take a shower because the shower smells like crap.
Actually, that shower's just been cleaned.
Yeah.
Well,
The
it
girl- I
smells like
believe it-
crap.
The girls' side, I believe it.
I took a shower yesterday and it smells terrible.
Quincy went in last
It's a
night
hot water
and took a
heater.
shower, and the water smelled like rotten eggs.
The water that's, the
So,
water that
I think
comes,
the hot water heater needs to be drained and the Amron needs to be checked.
right, also, the water that goes into the pool is well, whereas the pool house is through city, and so as we know, there is times, and actually in the last couple of weeks, I was just mentioning like how my cold water and stuff has a smell. It goes through a process, and so we make sure to go in there, wipe down, we simple green just to help, you know.
The whole place needs to be painted. So my question is, do we have a fund? Is there a fund in the town of Lakeview for that swimming pool? Because there are people, I think, that would donate if they knew and could have confidence. I'm telling you, as a citizen, I don't have confidence in the way the pool's been run.
There is a fund for the swimming pool. Every year, the town loses money on the swimming pool.
I understand that.
But we keep it open.
About 30,000.
Right, but we keep it open because it's important for the kids. It's important for a swim team, because it's an activity that those kids need. And it would be great if people could come forward and donate towards it, but I'm not sure how we would go about it, because
I know.
as you say, they think that we aren't taking good care of it. But I think that we have a new public works person who has been on top of things a lot more. We have a pool manager who has actually taken a big interest in it.
Yes, she has. I've noticed that.
And I think, you know, that we're on the road to improvement.
And last year, there was lights donated, there was painting donated in the office, walls torn out and put back in, that were all donated.
desert
Hot water
cruisers.
heaters were donated.
Did we get new
from-
hot water heaters?
Don Lasley
Don has
donated them.
donated 2
Oh,
brand new hot water
good.
heaters.
So they've been installed?
Yeah,
Yes.
last year.
So why does that water smell?
They're gonna have to be flushed.
Yeah, be flushed. Just like a lot of residential
It's a
hot
town
water
water.
heaters.
And I do know
You're
that,
supposed to flush your hot water heaters twice a year.
Big
Yeah.
heaters right there.
No, they're brand new.
Thanks, Jim.
Brand new right from me.
Thank you. Okay.
I think we set it up.
So anyways, I think there's people that would help, but we don't know what to do. And I think people would give extra money if they had the confidence.
Well, I can tell you right now that I'm working on getting those new filters. I tried to get them here. As soon as I found out that they were not ordered this year, I got on with Rec Supply out of, I believe they're out of North Dakota, to try to get those filters here.
Well, and Tom White
And I've
of
ordered
Desert
them.
Cruisers
Yes.
did
Yeah,
approach
They're on their
Melissa
way. I've got one,
about
I'm not gonna
helping
replace the
with
single
upkeep
until I
of
get
the
the whole
pool.
set. But in the meantime, we are changing them, we're cleaning them.
And then it has one more.
I have one more thing to say. And the water, they've been keeping it cool, and I understand, Melissa, why you're doing that. It's too cold. It's too cold. And we shouldn't have it that cold for the kids.
it's been kept at a 78 we have to keep it under 80 and that was a thing until I knew for a fact those new filters were in there, so we don't cause another flare-up or anything, but we're getting it as close as we can. Covers are going on, which is helping tremendously as
Yeah, and
well.
it'll help with the dirt too, if you put the covers
Right.
on.
Well, I thought it was too cold too, Sharon. My response was to wear a black uniform and I would look like Shamu.
There you go.
It would probably not be the best thing to do for me.
So my comment is that, you know, I mean, swim team does do a lot for the pool and tries to help everything that, you know, with everything that we can. It is required for our team members to, they have to purchase a swim pool pass. So we are not up there for free. We actually pay for our kids to go to do that, and then they pay for their swim stuff. But the
And
things that we buy things.
We actually appreciate that, and
We buy all the
we
kickboards, we
appreciate
buy all this, you know.
everybody that came
we
in this
put up
weekend
because we
and filled
wanted
the
good.
restaurants and the motels.
Oh, they did a great job.
We appreciate all that.
Everybody did a good
So I
job.
just think we need to figure out how we're gonna do this for next year.
And as a community, we can't be divided. We gotta stick together. you know.
And there's a lot of, you know, negative Facebook posts, and it's like,
I feel like what's happened here today, I try to stay pretty neutral, right? I feel like what's happened here today is our coaches are feeling so harassed at this point. A lot of our swim parents are feeling harassed at this point.
After this
And
meeting?
If, a lot of this meeting, because our coaches talk and you guys just, like you said, was it critiquing or heckling? I mean, that's a leading question in a courtroom, right? So, I think they're feeling harassed at this point. So next year, do we even have returning coaches? Do we have returning swimmers? If we don't have returning coaches and returning swimmers, we don't have that big swimming, right? So we've got to work together and stop this infighting. This whole community, the last 3 years, has been ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
Well, I've just heard complaints the last 3 years. That's what I've heard,
I agree.
complaints.
But there's a lot of good.
So,
These guys did a great job.
yeah.
Melissa's done a great job.
I've heard quite a bit of positivity about the way the guards are running, the way the facility is, to the point where I'm a part of the Desert Cruisers, and Tom Lytle, to bring a child for a swim lesson, and when he walked in, jaw dropped, and he just said, I can't believe the way this looks compared to what last year is. You've done a great job. I know you didn't join the club for this reason, because I joined before I ever took the position in a swimming pool. But we're going to work together to see what we can do to help make improvements, whether that's paint or something else. You know, so there are people who are noticing that somebody does care and they do want to help, seeing that, you know, there is initiative being taken. So I just wanted you guys to know it is noticed and there are people already stepping forward.
That's good. I think it's important for all of us to remember that sometimes we take on we're young adults, and it's a different and difficult situation sometimes to become the adult and having to enforce rules.
Yes.
And it's not an easy job in either place, so.
Okay,
We will schedule a meeting, meet, okay?
all right. Thank you for coming.
you were killing me.
Come back to old business. Update on the,
Just afterwards and
the
board.
okay, table that.
Have they gotten a hold of you?
Yes, I had,
All right, Scott, update on the filter system.
Water plant?
Yeah.
The pilot program came back really well. We're actually gonna be using less chlorine than we anticipated on the water plant. We will be using permanganate to coagulate some of the solids to get those to drop out the filter. But it's moving along pretty good. I'm probably gonna be going to red in the next few weeks to meet with Anderson.
Hey. We're trying to continue. You guys take that side.
yeah, you guys can go.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So anyway, the pilot program came out really well. It came out better than anticipated. They did come back for a second round, because they wanted to try some different chemicals, which made a huge difference. So we're still going to be doing on-site generation to chlorinate, because it's the safest way to go instead of chlorine gas. But it's actually moving along pretty good right now. I got to get some well information that we're struggling with at best. But even if I can't get what we need, we're going to be able to move forward with it. But things are moving right along with that. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, do I have to order hot dogs for the 11th?
That's for the park. That's for the
Not for the
park.
park. That's next.
Oh,
The
that's
water treatment facility, you're not gonna have a barbecue. Not this year.
okay. Okay, I thought we were talking about.
All right, so go ahead with McDonald's Park. Excuse me.
McDonald Park, I've had some very tense conversations today at McDonald Park. They are moving forward. The likelihood of them being done by the end of the week is very slim to none. There's a couple changes that are gonna have to be made. The circuit for the pump is not big enough that's there. They were supposed to look at that at the beginning of the project. They did not. And then Pacific Power got involved in it, and we found out that somebody 20 years or so ago has bypassed the meter at the park. There's no power meter there. Pacific Power's not very happy about that. So that whole line's gonna have to be replaced, and the meter base is gonna have to be installed, and maybe breakpoints. So I just got all this information this afternoon, so I'll be dealing with that tomorrow and update you guys as I get
Can
that done.
that be done by the time of the grand opening?
Maybe, depends on what Pacific Power tells me when I talk to them tomorrow.
What about the rest of the construction?
It's not gonna be done by the end of the month. I think we have a good chance of being done prior to the 11th, but it may be midnight on the 10th. It's gonna be close.
Wow. Okay,
Can I ask a question about the smart meters?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, like as you go down I Street,
At your house?
yes,
Yeah.
well, after that, there's Gerald Stewart owns that,
Trailer park.
what is it?
The trailer park?
Trailer park.
Uh-huh.
There's one meter there, right?
Yep.
How does he pay for all those, or is he paying $48 and charging those people $200?
No,
He's paying for every
I
connection.
think it's a master meter there, isn't it? It's a master meter.
Yeah, he's paying for every connection.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
So since you brought it up, I'll do an update on the smart meters. We have,
Can we just time out, pause there? The McDonald Park contract is the time and date that we had agreed upon with the contractor. The prime contractor was to be finished August 1st.
yeah,
I don't think he's gonna be done, even
I know
though
he's not gonna be done.
even though I've asked and requested that I don't really care what he needs to do. If he's gotta work 24/7, then let's have him do that. But the town on August 2nd can begin to take action on liquidated damages, and we will engage that way.
yep,
he will be charged with it.
Do it the right way.
And he's already pretty much been told that. He'll get a formal letter on the morning of August 2nd, letting him know that he is being charged. So back to smart meters, and thanks for bringing that up, Michelle, I forgot to bring that up. Back to smart meters, it's been a bit of a train wreck on the start. Charlie and Charlie have talked to you guys several times. We have a water main between 9th and 11th on G that has to be replaced. We exposed that water main, it's been leaking for probably a couple of years, but it hasn't exposed itself, so we had no idea, but it's an old steel line. The cost to do that, I got two quotes on materials. One was for $45,000, the other one was $42,000. We're gonna purchase some materials because we save about 15% by doing that. So we're gonna purchase some material directly. The contractor doing the smart meters, who's contracted with Sustainable, which is Dog Lake, will be doing the line replacement. And that will run about $90,000 for rock, material, equipment rental, and everything to do that line. So we're gonna be about $132,000.
Is that including the pipe
Yep.
that we ordered?
Yep. This time last year, that job would have been close to $300,000 because of the price of pipe.
Because the price went down, we need to start buying pipe.
Pipe last year was running about $60 a foot, and right now it's running less than $25 a foot.
We need to start thinking about getting some pipe and just having it out there as we need it, different sizes.
We have found a lot of issues as we've exposed things, especially the south end of town. We've been correcting them as we go. And as I get close to my budget, we'll have to have another conversation.
Okay.
But at this point, things are going pretty good. We have over 300 meters in the ground as as of today. The August 7th, they'll be here to set the collectors up and set the software up. So we're pretty good, doing pretty good. It was a rough start, but we're doing pretty good. Roberta kicked our butt, to say the least. But we got off of it, we got moving, we're doing good. And the other thing that is not on the agenda that I set in front of all you as you sat down is the letter from NRCS in the state of Oregon on a dam. We have an issue with some seepage, as they want to call it. It's a leak is what I call it. But apparently they're going to put a committee together, do an investigation, and let us know what we need to do to correct that. It's going to be expensive, so we'll under your hat. They're hoping to have their investigation and their assessment done by September. I have a call into Kelly, who's on that letter, and I'm waiting to hear back from him. And Martin is the other guy. And I'll have a phone conference with those two probably by the end of the week, first part of next, to kind of get an idea what direction we gotta go with that. So, I'm hoping the state's gonna help out with it, because if they can declare an emergency because it is leaking, that we could probably get some funding and deal with it through that direction. So, that's where we are on the dam. Okay.
Okay,
It is a big dam project.
follow-up discussion on the policy update for commercial businesses with the Berry Well geothermal.
I would like to continue to move forward in allowing our commercial and industrial clients to tap or hook into the Berry Well geothermal return line. And the street that the parameters would be anyone located on South End Street between South 9th Street and Cattermas would be able to be eligible to access the geothermal.
So on the return side, if you don't mind, but in Michelle?
Not at all.
On the return side, that does not affect the hospital or schools at all, because it's on a return play. That water's already traveled through the schools and the hospitals, done what it's gonna do. It's whatever residual heat's left from that water will run through the businesses, like the dentist office has it down, Head Start's heated off of the return side of the geothermal from the hospital and the schools. So it will not affect their capacity or heating at all.
So how that might look is to just have individual contracts with whatever entities want to hook into the geothermal. We would charge them very similarly to what we are charging Dr. Davis and the Head Start.
You mean like if Mr. McGowan wanted to get hooked up at the industrial park?
Exactly. Yeah, so how do you charge?
It's a flat rate. Go
It's
ahead.
flat rate right now, and that's what we'll charge all the time on geothermal, because
It's the $2,000 per year?
what Head Start is, and I haven't seen the Head Start contract, I really need to look into that and find out what's all done. But when that contract was initially set up, it was $2,500 a year for Head Start.
The budget says 2,000 for both Head Start and Dr. Davis's office.
I'll have to look.
Can that be right?
It could be, I'd have to look again.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with a lot of numbers the last couple of days with this water meter project.
And how did you come up with that number? Is there some benchmarking?
That was done 12 years ago when that system went into effect. I don't know how they came up with that number. And then, well, Head Start was a little later than that because it was just built a few years ago. But I wasn't involved with that. That's what was set when I started here.
What should the process be?
I would imagine it's so much of, like a foot or something that shoots through that line, huh?
It probably needs to be based on the square footage of a building, to be honest with you. The prison, when we did the prison, I've kind of followed through their contracts. I have a pretty good copy of their contract when it was put in 22 years ago. And it was done several different ways over the years. It was done by BTU, it was done by gallons, and it was, the beginning of it was factored in the construction costs of that to help pay for that system. But those terms have all gone and went, and they've gone to a flat rate system also. So everything right now is on a base rate or flat rate system of that utility.
Would it make sense for the town to ask someone who's qualified, maybe, I don't know if it's LCRI or some consultant to make sure that the town is achieving the right amount of revenue. My concern is if you set a price 12 years ago and the price hasn't gone up in 12 years, it's a pretty good deal for the user, number one. And yeah.
To kind of get back to that, Mike, there is actually escalations built into that contract that the town has never exercised until we started here. This year, I pushed everybody's rates up according to their contract.
But that's for supply water, right?
That's for the geothermal.
Supply, this is
Yeah.
return, so it might be a different price. I'm just saying that, when I looked at the budget last, Dr. Davis was paying $2,000 a year and the Head Start was paying $2,000. And I get it that if they're both taking return water, that's otherwise just going into the recharge well, then that's found money. But, we should still, the town should still be charging the right amount. And I think there's also another issue to consider there, which is that Head Start is a quasi-public entity, right? It's a school that, the costs are underwritten, and Dr. Davis's operation is a for-profit business. And whatever the correct number is, and the contract terms and so on, I'm of the view that, for-profit businesses, including my own, if I were doing it, shouldn't have the same rates as nonprofit, right? And I think we should just, when you're thinking about your policy, you should think in greater depth about commercial businesses operated for profit and nonprofit, schools, hospitals, public buildings, and the like.
Well, I'm thinking Clement Falls has done this for a lot longer than we have. And
They may be able to benchmark.
Here might not hurt, just to find out what the way they do.
I probably need to speak with Brian Brown, who is the engineer that handles OIT's geothermal stuff. And he's also been helping the town out with their geothermal issues. I haven't had a lot of time to dive into it because geothermal was kind of dumped when I started here. So I've been learning it as I go, but you're exactly right. We need to come up with a formula that makes sense and make sure that we're charging the right amount. I know that when the prison went to their flat rate, they were on a MBTU, million BTUs, and there was a certain cost for that. And when they were moved over, what they did is they took a 2-year average of what that was, and that's what they based their rate on. And they just received this year a 10.5% increase on
But first time in quite a while.
First time in 22 years.
Yeah, 10.5% is not bad
at the hospital.
years.
The hospital and the schools. This year at the hospital and schools is the first increase they've had since that system went into effect. And
Scott, how much heat's left in that by the time it gets all the way down to where Mike's shop is?
I could tell you, and this is an argument I've had with the hospital and the schools, they're not pulling near the heat off that they can.
They're on supply, he's talking about return.
He's supplying your return.
Yeah, even on the return, I'm sending water to them, it leaves the plant at 158 degrees, and we're re-injecting at 135 to 140.
So it's still quite hot.
It's the same discussion I had with the prison, that water leaves our plant at 210 degrees to go to the prison. And I'm getting it back at 160, 170, and they're complaining they're not getting enough heat. I had Brian Brown come in and do an assessment. And he told the prison to slow your water down a little bit and see what it does. So I'm getting water back now at 110, and they're getting a ton of heat up there. Just by slowing the water down, spending more time in heat exchangers. And that's what the hospital and the schools need to do. They need to regulate their water better. So they're pulling more heat off of that, and they're helping with their heating costs and for they heat their water with that also, their hot water. So if they would slow their heat down or their water down as it flows through their system, they're able to pull more heat off of it, and it's more efficient for them.
I really think the town can make, with this change in policy that commercial operations for profit can use the water, I think you can generate quite a lot of income. If I don't own my building, so I don't know what the owner will say. But for example, across the street from us is the grow facility. If they are operating in the cold months, they really need some help keeping their grow rooms to minimum warmth. I got to think that they would be very, very interested.
This fall, when I slow down with this water meter replacement I'm doing now in the park and the water plant, when the weather gets cold, I'm going to spend some more time with Brian and talking with the hospital and schools and slowing that down to help them become more efficient. We're doing about a $65,000 update on the North Geo right now. You guys are currently up there working on it as we speak. And that's gonna help us be more efficient on this side. The money that I'm gonna save just in electricity and runtime on my pumps is gonna pay for that in less than a year. And it's because nothing's been done in 22 years that facility's been in operation.
Yeah.
You know, and the software I'm running up there hasn't been supported since 2018. So, you know,
Since then.
Okay, so council,
So I'll continue to work on it. I'll get more refinement done and bring in the draft for you. And Scott will work on the money part of it, so I stay out of it.
Okay, all right, do that.
okay, move on. The 23-24 budget continuation and town manager's salaries. Okay, after I did some more work and stuff, John Day they're wanting a city manager for $150,000. Here's one for $135 to $155. Mattress is paying $132 to $173,000. As far as I'm concerned, what we're paying her, we're actually paying her less than what she actually should be getting for a city manager, and from other cities as well. Now, I don't know, I'm not willing to change the $114,000.
I'd rather,
And her contracts, I signed her contract a long time ago.
if she's happy with 114,000 and she can get a job at one of these others that are looking for a manager now, they're offering 155 and 175,000. I mean,
My feeling is that the town needs to set up a wage base for everybody, for the employees, for the manager, a starting wage and an ending wage on that part. And then when salary increases come in, they need to be equal for everybody. You don't give somebody a 38% salary increase and someone else only get a 5%. It needs to be across the board.
And we've talked about that.
And that's different for the union, so,
Well,
I know, I'm just explaining, the union's totally different than this, and that was something that I ran into with the union, talking with Brent, because I actually got in trouble from the union by getting any kind of, even if it was a 1% raise. And then the town council and the town manager can get written up for that through the union, and then they come after you for any kind of extra that you wanted to do for us.
what you do is you go off of whatever, if you negotiate with the union a 5% increase, then that's what it is for everybody. If you negotiate a 3% increase, that's what it is for
Well, I'm
everybody.
just
You know,
trying to
because
point out,
then,
if you do, try to be nice or do anything extra,
right,
you're darned if you do and darned if you
you're
don't.
you're talking union and non-union,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's totally
It's two
different.
totally
So if
different.
that's the case, then each employee needs to have a contract, a written contract.
there should be a description, a job description that
We
everybody
do have
has
one, but
signed.
nobody, in the whole 12 years I have been here, nobody has ever signed, at least I have never, ever signed an employee contract. Never have I
That's because
signed
your
one.
job description should cover it, but you should,
But you should still formally sign a document stating
I did when I
that,
started here.
and
Well,
I
I
never
think-
did, it
So
didn't
did
start till
John.
my
Yeah.
shocking, but when I first started, 12
Well,
years
no,
ago, I never got
and
anything.
that's the issue, is that things have not ran.
No,
Well, I
equally
think one of
in
the
the last 12
problems we've
years.
had the last 2 years is because we've tried to change some policies. The previous people, like Michelle never got a raise for 4 years, the 4 years she's been here. She's got over $3 million worth of grants for us, so
Actually,
that's,
more than that.
yeah.
We're at 22 million.
Yeah, 22 million, okay, well, and none of the other people did that. Although they were supposed to do that, John, they didn't. Roberta didn't do that, Ray Sims didn't do that, God bless his soul. They ran the town without doing much of anything, as far as upgrades. Like trying to take care of the, plant, your plant,
Yeah.
the what? The water, yeah. And those things should have been done a long time ago, other than waiting till right now until it's done. So if you figured Michelle maybe should have got $6,000 a year raise, I don't know, then it would have been $24,000. We wouldn't be in this situation right now. I just think we've waited a long time, everybody's waited a long time in Lakeview to change a few things, to change the water meters, to change it. Some people have not been paying for water, you know, and we're just figuring that out now. And that shouldn't happen. So anyway, that's my feeling.
But I think we're doing good at starting now and getting it right. I mean, we're working on.
Yeah, and
the new
Michelle
plan.
should be just like anybody, should be reviewed once a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Michelle, is Jay correct? Did you not have any increase in your salary from the day you started until Ray
No,
signed your recent contract?
That's not correct. I did get a raise. I got a little bump.
To 84,000, maybe it was,
I went from 60 to 70 or,
No, you started at, it was at 72.
okay. I have gotten two raises, but I didn't get one, I haven't gotten one for a whole year.
Was that cost of living or different?
One was like a 5%, I think was the cost of living. Was the
That's
last
different.
one.
I didn't think she had a raise, sorry.
So, it's okay, but I mean, so is the process then, when you get a raise, that, you know, you, like the rest of us, we get raises based on cost of living and improvement in our skill set or superlative performance. And most places and most people go through a performance review. Every time you got an increase in your salary, did the town council go through a performance review and say, we're increasing you like this because you did these things well? I mean, is that the process?
There is no process in place for non-union people, but every year I am reviewed by the council.
So there is a performance review?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've instigated it, saying I would like you to review me, and please give me direction of what you want to have me do better. And it's in my employee folder. So it's what they're asking for now is that I put together a base of rate increases for non-union employees so that it's fair across the board. Because there is none right now. So, and that's, so I'll be working on that because there is not. And prior to my coming, there was never performance evaluations for any town hall employee. I do them every year now. And I require the directors to review their people as well, because they were just getting raises. It's like, just ticker tape, always happening with no performance evaluation, but we've implemented that, and this will be year 3 that we've done that. John?
Well, she said she got an increase in her wages, what, a year ago? And you missed a year? That's what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, excuse me. But then you jump up and give a person a 36% increase in their wages? Guys, this isn't the NFL or the NBA. It's not your fault that our mayor's been in place for a long time. Maybe he should have started giving her increases all the time. But 36%, totally unacceptable.
Well, I just want to know how you can explain to the people that you supervise that you got a 36% raise in 1 year and they're getting 5% or less. I mean, how do you explain that? I mean, what do you say to your team when that's the case?
That's a good question for Ray.
Can I answer that?
No, I'm asking Ray.
How do I explain
How do you
it?
explain that to these gentlemen over here? That they might have got a 6% cost of living? You
Really?
can't.
I don't discuss her wages or their wages with anybody else.
It's all public
It's
document.
public.
It is, but I don't discuss it.
Well, it's in the budget, Mr.
It
Mayor.
is in the budget. You can look at the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
you know?
But
But
then-
why do I need to discuss
Okay, but
people's wages?
why? Because we are elected by the people and to run this town and to make sure that this town stays solvent. We need to be able to explain why we do, what we've done.
Well, I felt she deserved a raise. I'll tell you that, for as much money as she got to the town, nobody else has ever gotten. If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be getting a water treatment plant either. Think
Sorry,
about
did
that.
did the town manager get that money?
She
No.
did. She went out and got that.
The 15 million?
The 15 million, she got a letter from Governor Brown.
No, but she didn't initiate that process. She got a letter from Governor Brown, who was making up for the decision to close the prison, right?
No.
I mean, did she apply for that 15 million and get
Yes.
it?
To the state.
Michelle, is that true?
Michelle?
I was asked to provide a one-page document to Annette Lebe, who asked me from the governor's office to provide that, of how much it would cost and what we would need for a water treatment facility plan.
Right, but you didn't ask for the government to pay for our water treatment
I
facility.
did,
You did, and then they said yes?
yeah.
Okay, so you are responsible for the 15 million.
I am.
Okay. So, but back to this, the original point, Mr. Mayor, which was, if you've got a group of people and you're trying to maintain fairness and morale, and one person gets a very large increase and the other people don't, you know, it's just fundamental that you have to ask the question about how you keep people motivated, right, who don't get the large increase. And maybe there's a logical answer. I can suggest one. For example, you could say, well, this employee performed 20 times better than any other employee, and therefore there's a justification. But you do need to be able to have the system that shows that to be true, so that everybody feels that the system is fair. If you just pluck a number out, I mean, you know, if you raise the question...
We didn't just pluck a number out.
Well, I think you did. You said a few minutes ago that John Day was looking for someone
Right.
and advertising at $50,000. They don't have a $50,000 employee. And by the way, the employee that they hire might have 20 years more experience than Michelle, or might have college degrees or whatever.
Or may have none.
We don't know, but that's a hypothetical number that you can't make her salary based on a newspaper ad.
Well, they hired one for 150 and she lasted a month and they fired her.
And John Day fired theirs too.
Yeah, that's all
The
I'm
last
saying.
meeting we were here, and we discussed city managers, both of them were fired the week before when I was sitting in that chair right there.
Which could prove Mr. Mayor's point, right? But my suggestion the last time we discussed this topic was that the town engage someone who is actually an expert in recruiting, hiring, compensating, evaluating, preparing performance review documents, right? There are people out there who do nothing but.
Well, that's why I wanted an HR person.
Well, but even without that, you can get a consultant who get paid a commission when they find someone for you, you know, but I think that the people in the town are gonna feel awkward if you just say, well, you know, we're gonna raise this person 36% in 1 year after having previous raises. And they're gonna ask you what you did, and, you know, a newspaper ad, I don't think is gonna be sufficient. There has to be more meat on the bone in order to explain what might be perfectly reasonable behavior. And I think the other employees also wanna know what's going on. So if you get a third party who's an expert and says, guys, you know, Michelle's a bargain, well, first of all, that's not gonna feel good for Michelle. She's gonna feel bad about that. But your position might be valid, but you don't even know that because you don't have the data, you don't have the metrics.
Well, typically the grant writers get 5%. Do they, Michelle, get 5% of grants?
5 to 10%.
5%.
But grant writers are not public employees, right? Grant writers don't get benefits and don't have job security and all that sort of thing, so it's not a good metric.
It depends on how the town, if that particular town structures a grant writer.
I mean, if we said we were gonna leave Michelle at $90,000 and we'll give you 5% of the grants, she might make more than $150,000. I don't know. So, I mean, it's kind of a Mox Next thing, you know. I'd rather just pay her than have her take a percentage of the grants, but we've talked about that too, Mike, and I don't know what would be a good scenario.
Yeah, it feels like you really need to get some expert advice. And so that you've got a way to talk to her fairly, and you've got a way to talk to every other manager that works for the town fairly. And you know, you can say, this is what we've learned, and even if you find out that you're underpaying a little bit, you know, I think most people are very amenable to a conversation that says, hey, you know, we're underpaying you a little bit, but it's gonna take a couple of years to catch you up. But you don't do 38.
Sean transferred from Ben and took a cut in wages to get here,
Understood.
because he likes Lakeview.
Well, and also you don't have to pay housing costs in Lakeview that you have to pay in Bend too. So, you know, but that's a logical point, right? And if you had an HR team, which we don't, or if you had a consultant who gave you some advice, they might say, you know, he's actually well compensated given his expenses in this town. Or he's not, I don't know, but I
can tell you, coming to where I'm still under.
Yeah, yeah.
But to me, I mean, this is just.
You made the choice, yeah.
I made the choice.
Right.
I wanted to be here.
Right.
And I knew that I was gonna take it in short,
Yeah.
per se.
Right.
But that's because that's me.
That's your choice, sure.
And that was my choice.
Okay.
You know, that's why I'm not saying, you know, I
Why did
wanna.
it get passed? None of you agreed upon it.
So, council, if you'd like to take
There was a vote, and it passed.
I know, but it was all agreed upon, but now it just seems like there's an issue, so I'm just asking for the
I think that
record.
when we discussed it, it was the majority wanting, you know, to set that price, but then I still feel very strongly that we need to set a salary comparison. We need, like Mike says, we need to figure it out, be able to explain to the people why we do what we do.
So today, we can tap into LOC
Yeah.
Let's do that.
and
League of
get
Cities.
rates.
The League of Oregon Cities.
Let's League of Oregon Cities.
That's a good idea.
So we'll tap into
I'll
that,
be meeting with
and
them next month too.
they're the experts, and we can ask
Right.
what that is, and then figure out a pay rate that you can come to an agreement.
Well, I mean, they've already signed it, right? So I don't think anybody's
It's-
saying,
it's
you
not
know,
gonna
to go
change.
against what's already been done.
No,
I
it's
think
not
we're just
gonna
saying, there's a credibility issue that
Yeah.
needs to be resolved and maybe a morale issue.
Credibility out the
Yeah.
window.
Okay,
We could, but,
as far as I'm concerned, enough
I
said.
think it's something we can work on,
yeah.
absolutely.
All right, council,
Talk about this all.
So do I
Yeah,
need to
let's
set
talk
up
about
an
this all night.
executive
Let's just-
session? Do I
let's
need to
move
set up a
on.
work session
No,
for this?
we're
Okay.
good, we're good right now.
no, right now, we're
I'm just
just,
trying to get all my meetings in a row.
all right, let's move on to request for a bounce house on the big pool lawn.
They did not come in, I'm not sure where they are. They were
Okay,
supposed to
well,
be here,
the one they
and I even
had,
checked and double checked.
No paperwork?
no, the one they had, that they were putting up there with that big tarp was killing the grass. Whenever they'd
They
take
were
it
just
out.
putting it in the same spot every time, every day.
Yeah.
So it just needs to be moved around.
Before we close, Mayor, I just wanted to remind council that we have a work session scheduled for Monday, July 31st at 4 PM. We'll be talking about creating a district for the fire.
Oh, right.
And since internet is somewhat back up, you'll actually get your agenda tomorrow.
Hopefully.
I won't have to go find a hot spot somewhere and get it all taken care of and emailed out.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay,
This is on
Monday
the,
the 31st.
it's on the agenda. Dog consortium?
They didn't show.
They
Okay.
didn't come, but I also didn't have a way to contact them. I tried calling Rhonda, but unfortunately with
Phones.
all
yeah.
the internet and phone services, everything was down. And I went upstairs and, don't get mad at me, but I climbed out on the roof to try and get a hotspot so that I could get my internet to
You
work.
climbed on the roof?
Yes, because I needed to get agendas out. And it didn't work,
It didn't work,
so
yeah.
I tried.
That's all right, you did, you
Can't
tried.
Kicking my butt for trying.
okay, do we have any public comments?
Yes.
Okay, any other staff?
We have
Oh,
public comment.
Oh.
have public comments.
I'm sorry, I was looking down, yeah.
Just to make this official as per public comments, my name is Shelley Batty. I've been a resident of Lakeview for right at 6 years.
I am a homeowner and a business owner and very active in the community, trying to do things for the better of the community. I got a phone call yesterday from the mayor of Oregon City,
Yep, I called
Denise
her.
McGriff. And she wanted to let me know that a gentleman purporting to be Ray Turner, the mayor of Lakeview, had called, identifying himself as such, saying that he was calling on behalf of the town.
I didn't say that.
And I would like to know why you called and what was said.
I'll tell you what was said and what she told me. I asked her what she knew about you and Tom, because you guys opened up a business here. I've had people ask me why you guys came from a place up there, came down here to the middle of nowhere and started a business. People were kind of skeptical. I said, well, I can find out. I've asked about this 3 months ago. And I held off till I was asked again. So I called. You know what she told me? She spoke very highly of you guys. You guys were very active in the chamber and active in the community, and a lot of things you guys did up there. And I asked her, I said, well, why'd they move to Lakeview? She said, I guess they just wanted a fresh start. I don't know. And that was it. That was the whole conversation.
It's not positive.
You're checking into our background by calling other people. Instead of asking us after 6 years,
I told these people to go talk to you. Nobody did.
but you
So I don't know.
didn't
I don't know what to tell you. I called and I would do it for anybody. Didn't matter who it was. I'd do it on Michelle, I'd do it on Scott, I'd do it on anybody. If I was asked, if people had concerns.
How is that town business?
I didn't say I was representing the town.
But you said you were the mayor
Mayor
of
of
Lakeview.
I just said I was the mayor of Lakeview.
Well, that's
I mean, by
Talking
doing
about-
that, you declared yourself
No.
doing
Representing the
business
town.
for the town over the phone.
Yeah.
So I think in the future, if you're going to do this, you say 4 people out in the community or whatever it might be, don't declare yourself as the mayor, because then it shows that you're doing business for the
I
town.
didn't even think about it at
Yeah.
the time, so I apologize. But she did give me a lot of good feedback, and I was happy to hear that. And I will pass that on.
Do you call to check up on other people? Did you call to check up on me when Robbie and I moved to town?
No,
Why not?
nobody asked me about you. Nobody asked me about you, okay?
But when people ask you about people, it's like you're using your position
This sounds like
to
something
get
that
information,
ethics
and
commission
it's that an ethics people would, I think,
The ethics
be
commission would be
very concerned
with
about.
this.
Yes.
People know that you're the mayor,
Mayor.
therefore you have the ability to seek out information. Yeah, this, I don't know if I don't know if this forum is the proper
Yeah,
way to
we need
discuss
to
this.
discuss it, right.
We might need to call.
Yeah. I see it. Yeah.
Let's do those calls.
Okay.
Anything else?
We've been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
Our behavior in this community and our commitment to this community has been apparent for 6 years. And then you call checking up on us.
I apologize. Okay. All right,
I think
anybody have
we get
anything
what you're
else?
saying, and I think we'll probably bring it up at the executive session on Monday.
Okay, hearing no
It's like
comment.
there's a lot of things that I've chosen to just walk away.
Then we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:34.